Ancient Rome didn't conquer the world by chance. It did it through discipline, blood, and sweat. At the heart of Rome's power was a machine not made of gears, but of men, the Roman legions. Soldiers who marched for thousands of kilometers, crossed deserts, forests, and mountains, returning victorious or dying on the field, never breaking formation. But how did Rome forge soldiers so feared, so loyal, and so effective? From citizen militia to professional army. In the early Republic, the Roman army looked more like a militia. Every free man had a duty to fight, but he paid for his own gear, left behind his farm or trade, and went home once the war was over. This worked while Rome was just a city-state, but as the Republic grew into an empire, guarding distant provinces and endless borders, Rome needed a permanent army, disciplined, loyal, and professional. That transformation came with Augustus, the first emperor. He introduced wages, campaign bonuses, and land rewards after service. For the poor, military life became a career and a path to honor. But loyalty shifted, not to the Senate or the city, but to the general who commanded them. Thus was born the professional Roman army, an unstoppable force that lived for war. The legion machine. Rome's legions were military masterpieces. Each legion had about 5,000 men, divided into 10 cohorts, then into smaller maniples and centuries of around 80 soldiers. This structure allowed Rome to move like a living chessboard, fast, flexible, and disciplined. At the empire's peak, 150,000 legionaries and nearly 200,000 auxiliaries stood, ready across more than 10,000 kilometers of frontiers, from the icy rivers of Britain to the burning sands of the Sahara. Behind them stood a network of roads, supply depots, and offices that made Roman logistics the envy of the ancient world. Recruitment and selection. But before a man could carry a shield, he had to pass the test. Recruitment officers scoured towns for young men between 18 and 23. Strength was essential, but not enough. They checked family background, occupation, even behavior. Skilled craftsmen like blacksmiths or carpenters were prized. Literate men were groomed for administration. The unlucky or unfit were rejected. The chosen few received a small metal tag, Rome's version of dog tags. From that moment, the recruit no longer belonged to himself. He belonged to Rome. Training the body. The first months were brutal. Recruits marched with 20 kilos of gear, 30 kilometers in 5 hours, then 35 at a faster pace. Weather didn't matter, rain, sun, or freezing cold. Complaints weren't allowed. They ran, swam, climbed, and carried heavy loads until exhaustion. The goal wasn't just muscles, but endurance, the ability to fight after days of hunger and marching. Many quit. Some collapsed and never rose again. Those who endured became iron. Training the warrior. Only after hardening the body came combat training. Soldiers drilled with wooden weapons twice as heavy as the real ones. If you could fight with those, a steel gladius felt weightless. They practiced thrusts, slashes, and blocks until movements became instinct. Recruits also learned to throw the pilum, Rome's deadly javelin, designed to pierce shields and bend so enemies couldn't throw it back. Combat simulations called armatura pitted recruits against each other under the eyes of veteran instructors, battle-hardened. Men who earned double pay. Every mistake was punished. Every strike carved survival into muscle memory. Discipline and fear. But skill wasn't enough. Rome's greatest weapon was discipline. Centurions, the backbone of the legions, enforced it with a vine staff, a symbol of authority often used on the backs of soldiers. Minor mistakes brought beatings, loss of rations, or humiliation. Greater crimes, cowardice, desertion, theft, could mean execution. And when an entire unit failed, Rome unleashed its most terrifying punishment, decimation. 1 man in 10, chosen by lot, was executed by his comrades. Even Julius Caesar used it to remind his men that Rome feared nothing, not even its own soldiers. This fear forged unbreakable obedience. An army that fears the enemy is weak. An army that fears its commanders is invincible. The oath of loyalty. After months of trials, the final step transformed recruits into true legionaries. The sacramentum, the sacred oath. Once sworn to the Senate and people, Under the empire, it became an oath to the emperor himself. The soldier promised absolute obedience, to never abandon his unit, and to fight to the death if required. Breaking this oath wasn't just betrayal. It was the destruction of one's honor, family, and future. With the oath came the military diploma, engraved bronze plates, listing a soldier's name, service and rewards, wages, land grants, even citizenship for his family. It was his most treasured possession. From that moment, he was no longer a farmer, craftsman, or shepherd. He was a soldier of Rome. The legacy. Roman training didn't just build warriors. It transformed ordinary men into war machines, able to march for days, fight for hours, and hold formation against impossible odds. That system was so effective that its echoes still shape modern military academies more than 2,000 years later. Rome's power didn't come from marble temples or golden victories. It came from the anonymous legionary, disciplined, hardened, and bound by oath. The man who carried Rome on his shield, and whose sweat and blood built an empire.